weekend for you.
Like the sausage supreme skillet, the new chicken fajita skillet, and the meat lover skillet. Right up your alley. Now, what did we learn?
It's better to eat from a skillet.
Right.
Then hit you with it.
Ouch.
You know, you'd have to agree that tonight's range of topic material, again, was extraordinary. I mean, where else can you get, you know, what does Stick It to Frank mean, along with how do we get Saddam Hussein? I mean, theme songs define this show. The first half tonight, da-da-da-da-da, and the second half, dun-dun-dun-dun. Tomorrow night, Angelina Jolie is here, and Jane Withers is here, and Christopher Reich is here as well. Some husbands are living proof that their wives do have a sense of humor. Back tomorrow night, same time, same station.
Share in the drama of the Winter Games. Also, the big moment is here. See Mark McEwen carry the Olympic torch, plus your latest weather.
That's tomorrow.
On This Morning.
CBS Eye on People, available on cable and satellite.
I'm just the average mom balancing career and family. But with Mother gone, Dad moved in for a while and it was too much. Dad! That's when I helped myself with Kira. After a few weeks, I began to notice Kira's gentle effect. I was facing every day with a renewed confidence. Even my family said it was nice to have the old me back. So why don't you call 1-800-92-PROOF for more information about Kira, proven to maintain a healthy emotional balance.
The new Chevy Blazer with the driver control system. A little security in an insecure world.
How to buy the perfect bra. Next, Gail King.
This is KYW News 3 at 11.
Look at this, a trial by wind and water as a nasty nor'easter batters the shore and other parts of our region tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Kane. This is a long and difficult night for tens of thousands of residents down at the shore. We have live reports with important emergency information. News 3's Ren Scott in Atlantic City, but we begin with Robin McIntosh in Avalon tonight. Good evening, Robin.
Larry, I'll tell you, this might be called the calm before the storm. Believe it or not, this is low tide. High tide is going to be coming up here in Avalon, where we're standing right outside Townsend's Inlet around 2 o'clock this morning. Right now, though, it is absolutely terrible. The wind blowing in here about 60 miles an hour. And if you think it's bad now, it's going to get worse, a lot worse. As the sun went down tonight, the winds picked up, and even low tide looked a lot like high tide in Avalon, as emergency management officials manned the radios and the telephones, warning residents the water's going to get higher, a lot higher.
We're asking people to recheck where they think high ground is, because what they're used to thinking of as high ground is not going to do it this time.
Outside the public safety building, emergency vehicles and their crews on standby, including the National Guard, with big rigs able to wade through deep water.
We can go up to about 4 or 5 feet deep.
So you're going to be taking people out if they need to get out?
Yeah, if anybody needs to go, we're here to take them.
Some of the highest spots in seashore towns like Avalon are their bridges. Tonight, the 21st Street Bridge is lined with cars parked far from their homes and driveways, probably underwater at this hour. But tonight, these cars are high and dry.
They're saying to move it up a little higher because the water's supposed to get like 10.5 feet above flood stage this evening.
Where are you going to go?
I'm trying to get off the island as quick as possible.
Some brave the storm outside. Others try to stay out from behind the 8 ball inside. Good for business for the one bar in town still open, offering refuge on a stormy night.
Yeah, actually it is pretty good for a busy night. I thought it'd be dead because pool league was canceled. We usually have pool league tonight. But
yeah, but people showed up, I guess.
Yeah, people, they always want to be out and about.
Okay, Robin has obviously lost his sound. The high wind situation, very difficult there. Robin McIntosh reporting from Avalon. Now, up the coast, Atlantic City is starting to feel the effects. Residents and visitors of the resort town are battening down the hatches News 3's Ren Scott is live there with the very latest. Ren?
Good evening to you, Larry. We're out here on the boardwalk. We've got it all to ourselves. And let me give you a little bit of a tour. If you look over here, you can see the ocean is really starting to kick up here. In the last few minutes, we've had a couple of waves come all the way up to the boardwalk, and we've still got a couple of hours to go before high tide. Dennis, take them over here just a little bit. I'm going to take a chance here, Larry. Get out from behind our truck. And out here on the boardwalk, it is pretty consistently about 40 miles an hour. That is the driving wind that everybody is so concerned about. That's the driving wind that is going to drive this high tide up on shore. That's the situation in Atlantic City, but believe it or not, it seems a little bit worse in Ocean City. By nightfall, the heavy winds and rising tides were already making the causeway from Ocean City to the mainland a very dangerous drive. So emergency management officials put out a strong recommendation that residents evacuate the island before the causeways are closed.
We're anticipating severe flooding that has not been seen here in a number of years. Thus, many residents will be unfamiliar with the type of flooding that we will experience. If at all possible, to relocate to offshore or mainland facilities.
But even with floodwaters licking at doorsteps, many decided to stay.
We may have to climb up to the next level in the house, but
you're going to stay, huh?
But I'm going to stay, yes.
In Atlantic City, the wind-driven surf is churning, and the wind-driven rain has turned casinos into ghost towns. Windows have been taped, police cars moved to higher ground, and the National Guard is on standby just in case.
If you see a situation where you think it's going to be too much, to handle for yourself, we got to call in backup. That's the bottom line.
And the community braces for the next high tide to see just how bad the damage might be.
If this wind stays like this with those high tides, we could have some structural damage to the boardwalk, probably basically up in the inlet area. We're just hoping that our dunes and our geotubes protect the area midtown.
Now, the National Guard is on standby to evacuate people to local shelters if necessary. At this point, we are told there have not been too many evacuations. But, Larry, that could change soon. We have word that the back bay has not emptied out since the previous high tide. When the new high tide comes in around 2:30, we're going to have twice the tide we had at 1:30. So a lot of people are bracing on the other side of Atlantic City and on the bay side of many of these barrier islands. We'll be here throughout the night. We'll bring you the latest in the morning, and hopefully it's not going to turn out too badly. That's the latest here live on the boardwalk at Atlantic City. I'm Ren Scott. Let's go back to the studio.
Okay, you just take care of yourself, Ren. The nor'easter has already forced officials to close at least 4 school districts at the shore. Public schools in Atlantic City, Ocean City, Sea Island, Cape May will be closed tomorrow. Other districts, plus parochial and private schools, will decide at a later hour. Well, it's mainly a windy night with showers for most of us in our tri-state area. Lights from emergency vehicles provided the only illumination around 29th and Cecil B. Moore Avenue. Wind snapped a power line, knocking out electricity to a number of homes there. The hot wire burned right into the concrete sidewalk, but no one was hurt. And in Center City, Philadelphia, wind ripped scaffolding from the side of a building, and it dangled perilously over the street for a while. Well, the worst of this storm may yet be to come. Let's go to the KYW Storm Center right now, where Tom LeMaine has the very latest. Tom?
Larry, all those scenes you've just seen, both in Philadelphia and down along the Jersey Shore, are going to be repeated over and over again tonight and into tomorrow morning. Let's take a look at the watches and warnings that have basically remained the same. The high wind warning is going to be responsible for a lot of damage in this area here, around the metropolitan Philadelphia area. You're going to have trees down, power outages, and right on through the morning hour. Of course, along the coastal areas, there is where the steady surge of seawater coming inland is going to cause a lot of flooding and, as you heard Bob Levy say, structural damage. Now, the high tides tomorrow morning, the critical one, 2:10 a.m., 2:31 a.m., and an hour or two later, I would say that between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 or 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, tides are going to run 4 to 5 feet above normal. Access roads will be washed out, and there will be problems. Now, I'll let you know where the storm is and how long we think this situation is going to continue when I come back. Larry?
Thank you, Tom. Stay with us for complete coverage of this storm. The KYW Storm Center will be up and running early tomorrow. News 3 this morning will begin at 5 a.m., and we'll have school closing information. And for continuing coverage, of course, listen to KYW News Radio 1060. From Washington, word there's reportedly no deal for immunity from prosecution in exchange for Monica Lewinsky's tell-all.
A tape rebroadcast of WB17 News at 10.
This is WB17 News at 10.
Wicked winds tangling the flag, also pounding waves and steady rain tonight, and this isn't even the worst of it. Good evening, I'm Steve Highsmith. Another hard-hitting nor'easter is causing trouble at the Jersey Shore and across the Delaware Valley. The gusty winds pulling down this tree in Winfield tonight. It brought power lines down with it and damaged 2 cars as well. In Atlantic City this evening, heavy downpours and gusty winds clobbering a desolate boardwalk, and while strong waves crashed just below it. Julie Bologna joins us now with more on what's to come and why all this is happening. Julie?
More windy weather, especially. I want to tell you about this one. Top winds, Wildwood, New Jersey, 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts tonight. Going to continue. Take a look at the nor'easter, still chugging up toward the northeast. We're getting a break from the rainfall, so to speak, but there is more rain on the way. Now, again, the winds seem to be the biggest problem. High wind warnings in effect all along the Jersey and Delaware coastline. Inland areas, we have wind advisory where winds can peak anywhere between 25 to 35 miles per hour. And, of course, higher winds, possibly sustained winds 50 miles per hour along the shore, again with those higher gusts. More details coming up. I'll tell you when everything will come to an end. Steve.
All right, Julie, up and down the Jersey shoreline tonight, folks have been bracing for the storm, moving cars to high ground and other steps on the usual if you live near the ocean checklist. We have 2 live reports now, beginning with Margie Smith, who's standing by live in Atlantic City with the latest. Margie?
Well, Steve, the worst is just a few hours away. The high tide at 2:10 a.m. is supposed to bring with it serious flooding. The problems right now are the winds. We've had sustained winds about 40 to 50 miles an hour up here, and I can verify those 75-mile-an-hour gusts Julie was talking about. There were times during the day you literally had to hold on to something to keep from being blown away. But the conditions have been this way all day long as shore towns up and down the coast have been bracing for the worst. Beneath the Corson's Inlet Bridge between Ocean City and Strathmere, a volatile ocean churned as it mixed with the rising waters of the bay. Powerful winds whipped across the causeway in Sea Isle City as the tide crept higher and higher. Access roads on and off Cape May County's barrier islands were open all day, but they're likely to close when the next high tide hits overnight.
This wind right now is about a 50-mile-an-hour wind, and it's pushing us around pretty good.
Sea Isle Mayor Len Desiderio says the National Guard and local emergency workers are ready in case evacuations become necessary. Some streets are already flooded.
Please stay in because the police and personnel have a difficult job times like this, and to have unnecessary people, chaos walking around or driving around is not good for us.
The locals, of course, know how to weather the storms. That's the mayor, minus the rain gear, tending bar. When high winds knocked out the power, everyone just stayed put, warm, dry, and unworried.
I don't think it's going to be bad. It's a bit little flooding, that's about it.
We'll probably take a steak out of the freezer tonight, have a bottle of wine, and go to bed. Pretty normal.
The beaches, however, are less resilient. Last week's nor'easter dumped Strathmere's dunes on the road and swept chunks of Ocean City's sand replenishment project out to sea, and now the surviving beach is being hammered by the relentless surf and wind. Now, there have been no reports of mandatory evacuations. However, there have been some voluntary evacuations in Ocean City and Cape May County. Here in Atlantic City, there is a limited state of emergency in effect. Atlantic City schools will be closed tomorrow. Emergency management officials say in addition to tonight's high tide, they're also worried about the high tide tomorrow that's going to bring more flooding with it. The conditions and concerns are similar further north on the coast. That's where Wendy Dockenbaugh was all day.
Yeah, we were about 45 minutes north of here on Long Beach Island in Ocean County, and they too are just still recovering from the last nor'easter, but this clearly is the worst storm of the season so far.
A small strip of land between the ocean and the bay, Long Beach Island gets the worst Mother Nature has to give.
It's pretty nasty, I think. I think it's pretty nasty. It's the first time I've been down here for a storm like this.
In Long Beach Township, crews just finished shoring up the beach from the last nor'easter. Now they can only hope it will hold through another.
We've got over 20 tons of gravel and sand that we moved in here, and we're hoping again that it holds.
Through the afternoon, a steady stream of the curious judged the job, braving the back-beating wind and face-blasting sand for a trek to the beach.
How many times have you come down to take a look?
Once, twice per day.
3 builders and an architect came too with camera in hand. They are checking on a client's investment, one of those pricey and precarious beachfront homes.
We're just making sure that it's standing up. Yeah, that's it.
Innovation, luxury, and performance. You'll see it all.
Philadelphia International Auto Show at the Pennsylvania Convention Center.
Hundreds of new 98s from every manufacturer in the U.S.
Concept cars, the future of automotive design here today.
Plus several 99 models making their East Coast debuts.
See the $5 million exotic car display featuring the world's most prestigious nameplates.
Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Ferrari, and Lamborghini.
Philadelphia International Auto Show, Pennsylvania Convention Center.
See your Philadelphia Inquirer for details.
Isn't it time you replace that tired old mattress? Well, Nationwide Discount Sleep Center's New Year's mattress sale is going on now. Save hundreds on Sealy, Serta, Simmons, and Spring Air mattress sets. And make no deposit, pay no interest, and make no payments for 1 full year. Nationwide also gives you a free bonus bed frame, plus free delivery and free removal of your old bedding, too. Now, how do you make your dreams come true? Nationwide Discount Sleep Center.
Nobody beats the big man in the middle, but even I can't eat this whole encore entree. If I can't slam dunk these juicy, flame-broiled Salisbury steaks, nobody can.
Time out, big guy. Encore's a 2-pound family-size entree.
I don't have a family.
Then I'll bring mine. Your house at 5?
Cool.
Al, this Encore lasagna is...
Your place, 6 tomorrow.
We're tasting more, it's Encore.
Here's our idea. Show us what's new in computer technology.
We're gathered here in Las Vegas to look at about 10,000 new products representing over 2,300 companies.
This is running off the K6, right?
AT-type form factor chassis.
K6 with a 3D accelerator. How many megahertz?
These guys are pretty sharp. You know all this stuff. Many of these products have never been seen before. If you want to program on the fly, this is really cool.
Showing the next generation of computers to the next generation. Best Buy. Now that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Action News, the most watched news program in the Delaware Valley.
As a public service to our late-night viewers, Channel 6 now presents a rebroadcast of tonight's 11 o'clock news.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Gary Papa, Dave Roberts, and Jim Gardner.
It is Wednesday night, and the big story on Action News tonight is the huge nor'easter that is just now hitting its stride. Let's go right to New Jersey correspondent Nora Mushanek live in Atlantic City. Nora, the situation there right now.
Jim, it is absolutely miserable here. The storm has been raging all evening long. We have no evacuations to report to you at this hour, but officials in Ocean City were telling people there that if they wanted to get off the island, they should do so by 10 o'clock this evening because they expect that the roads will flood out later on this morning, actually at about 2 a.m. when high tide hits. In the meantime, the coastline has been getting hammered all evening. A driving wind helped pound an angry Atlantic into the beach in Atlantic City tonight. It doesn't get much uglier than this. Rain blew in sheets across roadways, rattling street signs, and the wind sent traffic signals swaying.
Well, I just came over that bridge, and let me tell you, my van was moving all over the place.
It's not pretty out there.
It was really windy.
Sections of Ventnor Avenue and Margate were flooded. These streets don't normally take on water like this until high tide hits. But with all the rain, there's nowhere for the water to go, which made driving here a bit difficult.
Considering it's low tide right now, we're expecting it to get a lot higher than this. This is one of the most flooded areas.
We got about another 5 hours to high tide, and it's already under the boardwalk.
What does that say to you?
Right now, we could end up with some major flooding.
Donna Romango and her 3 kids have been keeping track of the storm all day. She says the lights have flickered and the windows are rattling.
Our trash cans have been blowing down the street. We chase them every so often, bring them back.
And the windows are going?
And the windows are going, and basically a lot of just the wind gusts.
In Atlantic City, the Martin Luther King School has been designated as a shelter if evacuations are necessary. It will be open all night. The Red Cross is ready there as the shore braces for high tide in the middle of this storm. And once again, that high tide is expected at around about 2 a.m. this morning. Officials expect major flooding and possible road closings. That is the norm down here in storms like this. And just one other thing, the National Guard is standing by. They have trucks in a number of communities in case it becomes necessary to begin evacuations. For now, I'm Nora Mushanek reporting live on the Action Cam from Atlantic City.
All right, Nora, now let's get the latest from AccuWeather and Dave Roberts outside. David?
Well, Jim, we had a respite for a couple of hours here on City Line Avenue, at least from the rain. Now the strong gusty winds picking up, and the rain is definitely back as this nor'easter just roars on. Let's go to Action Radar and we'll see the system. We had one cell to our south, but it's now getting closer and closer. We've got to get through that system, but it's just going to hang right on the coast. What about rush hour in the morning? It's going to rain all night, going to be windy all night. In Philadelphia, we're going to have gusty winds. The rain will still be here. Look at the peak gust in the morning, 45 miles per hour. We're looking at a temperature of 36, but combine that, you're going to have a wind chill of 10 degrees above zero. That's in the greater Philadelphia area. Folks down at the shore, the situation is actually it's worse down there. Yes, gusty winds, strong rain. But the peak gust down there, 55 miles per hour. The temperature will be 40 degrees, but all in all, the wind chill still 10 degrees above zero. Take a look now at the track of this storm. At this current time, we can plot it just about a little east of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. By 8 in the morning, we expect it to be moving away to the northeast off the Virginia Beach area. And then by 8 o'clock tomorrow night, can't wait for that time, you see well out into the Atlantic, continuing to move away. So when do we get relief from this storm? Probably start to lessen a little bit come early tomorrow evening. But through tonight and through tomorrow morning, strong gusty winds, heavy rains continue. That's the latest, Jim. We'll be back in a few minutes to talk more about the weekend ahead.
All right, Dave, now let's go back to the Jersey Shore. And Action News reporter Dan Quayer live in North Wildwood. Dan, that area was just getting buffeted at 6 o'clock. How bad is it now?
Jim, even worse. We were expecting to show you the pounding waves here in North Wildwood, but the winds are so strong now that we actually had to move the satellite truck in between some buildings in order to get the signal back to Philadelphia. Already, North Wildwood has declared a state of emergency here, although they're not calling for evacuations as yet. But low tide has come and gone with no significant change in the tide, and worse, high tide is yet to come in the early morning hours. This is one the do not enter sign could not stop, and the traffic signals in North Wildwood were also having a hard time holding on. And then there was the pounding of the waves. Before sunset, the waves were already crashing over the pilings off Old New Jersey Avenue, the area long deserted by anyone. The streets were already beginning to flood. Most of it so far has been minor flooding, but Emergency Management Director Gus Mason did not like what he was seeing tonight on his tide monitor. Low tide was supposed to come in at 8:42 p.m.
It's almost 8:40, and we still have 6 foot of water in town. And it's not going out. So that means the next tide will start coming in and compound on top of this and make our tides a lot higher.
After declaring a state of emergency in North Wildwood at 6:30 this evening, Mason was busy faxing emergency directives to all the public safety departments in the city. And he was predicting more damage here a week since the last nor'easter.
And I'm afraid we're going to get a lot of water tonight, and it's going to do a lot of damage to us. We've already lost a tremendous amount of beach. We almost have no north end of our beach left.
They haven't had to evacuate here since Hurricane Gloria in 1985, and the acting mayor does not expect they'll have to evacuate this time, although they're ready.
At this point, it doesn't look like we're going to have to evacuate, but you can't tell what's going to happen. Our next high tide is probably 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll have another one again tomorrow afternoon. So we'll just have to go minute by minute, hour by hour, and see what happens.
Woo. As the waves continued to pound the bulkhead in North Wildwood, the National Guard was out on patrol. And at Westie's Irish Pub, there were a few customers enjoying what may be their last drinks before the worst of the storm.
I'm renting on 17th Street, setting the alarm for 3:30 and waking up and probably sweeping up a lot of water as it comes in the door.
So you've set your alarm for 3:30 then?
I will be.
So yes, there is room for a lot of concern, but there is no alarm here, and again, no evacuations being called for as yet. Yes, they are expecting a lot of beach erosion, and yes, they are expecting some flooding. Just how bad it is, they don't know as yet. They're going to be monitoring this throughout the night, and I'm afraid it is going to be a very long night here in North Wildwood, especially with the way these winds are blowing here tonight. I'm Dan Quayer, live on the Action Cam in North Wildwood, New Jersey.
Dan, I'd like you, if you can, to just describe what it feels like to be standing there. It looks like just a severe and harsh night there. Can you describe what it feels like?
Jim, I'm having a hard time actually standing up right now without having to hold on to something, and my cameraman is, I don't...
Nor'easter continues its slow march up the eastern seaboard, causing coastal flooding and spreading heavy snow across some of the inland areas. Speaking of some heavy snow, snow covers the Cincinnati, Ohio area tonight. The big storm dumped nearly a foot of snow across this area. That nearly broke the record for the greatest 24-hour snowfall. Coastal areas of New England are beginning to feel the effects of this huge storm. This is Chatham, Massachusetts. There it is, and it's located on Cape Cod. Folks here have been preparing not only for the wind, but also for the rain and the higher surf that is expected. And believe me, that water is going to look a little bit different as the low continues to churn up the ocean waters. All right, let's go ahead and take a peek at the satellite picture here, and I'm going to put it into motion for you. You'll be able to see the circulation associated with our low pressure system. That's where the center of circulation is. And as you know, we always talk about the rotation around an area of low pressure. It's counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, so we're drawing all that moisture from the ocean back up into parts of the northeast. You can kind of get a feel for just the enormous amounts of moisture and also the wind that's also affecting this area. And we're running into some colder air here, so not all of that is falling in the form of rain. In some areas we're seeing a mixture of precipitation, some areas it's just all snow. But whether it be rain, snow, or a mix, it's causing problems with your travel from the Carolinas all the way on up into portions of southern New England. And the pink on the map indicates where we think we'll continue to see kind of a mixture of precipitation. The green, of course, is rain. The white, say from right around upstate New York, as you head maybe just around the Catskills, points on northward, back out into central portions of Pennsylvania and extending out toward the Ohio River. That's where you're going to find the more measurable snow, and in some cases maybe 3 to 6 inches additional as we go through the overnight. 1 to 3 extending on up areas like Worcester and southern portions of New Hampshire. Into the southeast, well, your travel weather here is kind of tricky too. You will still find some rain in areas like Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, extending all the way back into extreme North Georgia. Windy travel, though, is going to be a big concern. If you're pulling the trailer, driving the RV, or maybe you drive a high-profile vehicle or a big rig, something like that, you're going to have to contend with the winds all the way down from Atlanta down toward Miami. Westward we go, we hit more rain. If you're up and down I-35, you're going to have to deal with the rains in Dallas. Up northward we go, Minneapolis dealing with some fog, maybe half-mile visibilities or less. And that has been the story in this region for the past several days. Chicago, a cool but dry start for you. 27 degrees, heading up around the Eisenhower, the Dan Ryan. And areas on into Milwaukee and Green Bay also looking dry but cold. Not so dry here. We can't buy a dry day here. As much as we'd like to see one into the Bay Area, Northern California, even down into southern portions of the Golden State. Not going to happen, folks. We're getting another system moving on in. This one's going to be very potent. It's going to mean heavy rain. It will get heavier through the overnight. And then into Thursday, we could see rainfall rates at times maybe a ½ inch an hour in and around the Bay Area. There are some areas around the San Francisco Bay Area where flash flood watches are in effect, where you could find maybe 3 to 6 inches additional rainfall. That's a possibility. That leaves mudslides also in the possibility category, so we'll have to watch out for that. Windy conditions here also a factor for you. You'll find some fog a little bit further down into southern portions of California, and eventually that rain is going to be spreading southward as we work our way into Friday. There's a look at your overnight lows for your Thursday. Quick peek at Thursday's maps, watching our low very slowly drawing out of the picture, but still a lot of wind with this and still quite a bit of precipitation, so additional snow accumulations. And there's a look again as we head into the afternoon and evening. Into Texas, the rain continues, including around Dallas, a cold rain there. And here's the rain. It continues as well. High surf pounding the region and some snow into the higher elevations. There's another peek at your precipitation forecast. Again, look at the snowfall there into the east, and a quick peek at the rain, which will be heavy at times, sections of northern California. Highs on Thursday, not going very far up the scale, some cool 40s even into Atlanta, Georgia. And there's a final look. One system here in the northeast in the Great Lakes, another one rounding into Texas, and our strong, potent one pushing into the west. That's a look at what's happening right now. Now we're going to get into the extended. New York, Dallas, San Francisco, what's on tap for you? Let's check it out.